Powerful.
Powerful. He's all powerful. Did you happen to notice it was either last week, right after we had the lesson and we learned we did the Omni thing, you had in your open windows, you had the ortho one. Did you remember there was orthodoxy as opposed to orthopraxy? And it taught you in the open windows last week.
Oh no.
What does ortho mean? If you say the orthodoxy as opposed to the orthopraxy, orthodoxy means it's the correct or the right or the righteous, the upright doctrine. Doxy is the doctrine. So orthodoxy means to be correct, right. Mm-hmm. But if you have orthopraxy, then you have the correct actions, the correct practice, the things that you're actually doing. So I thought that was kind of neat. I thought, okay, we did Omni, and now you know ortho, and y'all didn't read it, so you don't remember it. Or you didn't remember it, or you didn't read it. I don't know. Both. Okay. Yeah. But I thought that was pretty neat because I thought it was a good explanation. I don't usually see that anywhere, and that it brought that out for you. So I was hoping that you did all get to see that because I think that's a really neat one. Okay, so God is in everything all the time. He is also specific things at specific times. Now, does that make sense to you? Yes, okay, good. God's dealings with the Israelites reveal that based on, we actually see that when it's based on what kind of love?
A covenant?
The covenantal love, the covenantal loyalty, based on the covenant. Loyal and promises are there. He is and will always prove to be
faithful.
And the word that starts with an F?
Faithful.
Faithful. God is faithful. God is faithful. If I say you have a faithful friend, what do we mean by that?
You can depend on your friend.
Someone that's not what do we call a fair weather friend as opposed to a faithful friend. Someone who will always, always, always be true to whatever is going on with you as far as supporting you, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, right? We need faithful friends. So the question is, are we faithful? And is God faithful? We know that we can believe that God is faithful, but then this is a two-way street. Actually, the way this lesson was written, the emphasis is totally on the fact that God is the faithful one. But I thought there's no way we can have a lesson where we're going to just stress the fact that God is faithful, because the question is, are we faithful in return? So I picked out a few verses, and the first one that I have that I was going to actually share with you, and I did not take the time to type these up on a separate list, so it may take me just a second here to find all of them. But in Psalm 140, let me see, I'll give you the right information. 145, if you can just listen, verse 13, you can look if you can get it fast. In 145, verse 13, it says, "Your kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and your dominion endures through all generations. The Lord is faithful." The Lord is faithful to all his promises and loving toward all he has made. So this particular verse puts the emphasis on whose faithfulness? God's faithfulness. The Lord is faithful with his promises. Okay, that one was in verse 145. Then in Psalm 18, so go way back, verse 25. Okay, 18:25 says, "To the faithful," who would that be? "You show yourself faithful." So
Gosh.
God, if you're faithful, God is going to be faithful to you, is the idea.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that the way we kind of work in our relationships with other people too sometimes?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one way that we can see that, even though God is faithful to us when we choose to be unfaithful. But in this case, it states that he is faithful if you are faithful to him. And then the opposite, of course, would be true. So that was 118, and then 31. Skip over a little bit. There's so many of these that I could have written down, and it's unbelievable how many there are.
Excuse me.
So in Psalm 31:13, it says okay, Martha, get this right. 31:23, can't read my own writing. Love the Lord, all his saints. That's a command for us to do. The Lord preserves the faithful, but the proud he pays back in full. He preserves the faithful.
Mm-hmm.
And if you tain't faithful, not a good thing.
Mm-mm.
And then in 33, verses 4 and 5, and I thought that particular part, Psalm 33, verses 4 and 5, it kind of brings together all these different characteristics of God. It says the word of the Lord is right and true. So it's right, has a holiness about it. He is faithful in all he does. The Lord loves righteousness and justice, and the earth is full of his unfailing love. Those would be wonderful for your list that you're making of things that you're memorizing. Because it brings in the love, the justice, all of the different characteristics, as well as the faithfulness. So he's faithful in all he does. And then not leave out Revelation. So I wanted to get something from the besides the Old Testament, in the New Testament. And Revelation, it was chapter 17, verse 14, which says, this is when the Lamb of God comes. In Revelation, it says, they will make war against the Lamb, but the Lamb will overcome them. These are the hostile forces, because he is the Lord of lords and the King of kings, and with him will be his called, the chosen and faithful followers. So the faithful will be there. And today, when I listened to the preachers that I was listening to, two of them actually use the same message, but different passages to give the same message. And you're all familiar with Joshua chapter 24:14. And what does Joshua 24:14 say? It says, actually 24:14 first, and then 24:24. I want to do with both of these. You remember Joshua at the very end of the book of Joshua. They're getting ready, the Israelites are, to go into Canaan and to take over and everything. And they have been so unfaithful, out for 40 years wandering around and going into all kinds of horrible things. The message that Joshua delivers, he says, now fear the Lord and serve him with all faithfulness. Throw away the gods your forefathers worshiped beyond the river and in Egypt, and serve the Lord. Okay, that's the basis for making a choice. There is a choice that had to be faced at that time, and there is a choice that has to be faced here in the United States in 2026. A very, very big choice. It's a choice between righteousness and godliness and committing basically suicide. Because communism and socialism, so I heard today, so I believe, is national suicide. So are you going to make the same choice that Joshua decided to make, which was the other verse, when he says, now then said Joshua, he says, but if serving the Lord seems desirable to you, then choose for yourselves this day whether you will serve, whether the gods of your forefathers or the gods of the Amorites and so forth. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Amen. So they're going to be faithful there. So what are we going to choose? It's a matter of choosing God or choosing the culture, choosing the world, choosing what the world is teaching and what your ego and what your ambition and whatever else is saying that you can get by going some other way other than saying true to God. Mm-hmm. So, kind of keeping all that in mind, we want to consider faithfulness. There's this choice. We have to have this faith in God, and we cannot be silent. That was the other message, that he didn't really put it the same way as the others were doing it. But like I say, this third message as well is our threat, is our faithfulness a threat to Satan? No. It's supposed to be. But are Christians, for the most part, living lives that are threatening Satan? Does Satan have a plan to attack you because he considers you a threat, was the question. Is Satan aware that they have to worry about you because you'll be spreading the gospel? And that you're living a righteous life? This was some of what Alan Jackson was talking about. Once again, this dangerous faith. Our faith is supposed to be a threat and danger to Satan. But in most cases, the Christian church and the Christian faith, Satan doesn't care at all. It's probably actually in our church, and even in the pulpit sometimes, because they're working on that. I've heard some of who is that? One of these politicians that's running, and he's trying to present a sort of a picture of Christianity and saying things a certain way, but you know that it's not sincere and it's not real and it's not accurate. But it's going to sound good to somebody who doesn't go to church and doesn't read the scripture and know what's going on. They're not going to have a clue.
It's true.
So that's the situation. So we want to have a faith that is threat to the forces of darkness. Instead, most of the church faiths now are non-threatening because we don't want to cause any problems. We took God out of, what did we turn our backs on in this nation? We talked about Israel. We'll talk about the United States. We turned our backs on prayer in schools, Bible in schools, over and over again. We're turning our backs on the principles that are in the scriptures. We turn our backs on what are the characteristics of God. Are we turning our backs on the love? Are we turning our backs on justice? Are we turning our backs on faithfulness?
Yeah.
We're doing it, and all of these different characteristics. And what did we say in the lesson? We had them on all these lessons. What are our lives supposed to do? They're supposed to look like and reflect the character of God. And that was what was being challenged, and what I was listening and hearing, and that our nation has turned backs on all of these things, and we're at a point, we're at a crossroads, and we're going to have to make a stand, and we're going to have to do something. And I know that just, quote, voting is a good thing. We better be sure we're voting right, but there's going to have to obviously maybe we need to write some letters to somebody or somewhere or something to try to make a threat to what, Satan is doing. Because we can't let them win. We're not supposed to. That's the season that we're in and we're dealing with. Okay, well, all that said, we can go to the passage that I'm sure you studied intently, right?
Yes.
Deuteronomy chapter 7. And I when I first read this and I got it, I don't know why on earth I just don't know about this, you know. Okay, so I became convinced that this was good, so that's good. Actually, before I read the passage there on chapter 7 in Deuteronomy that you have read, there was something, he goes continually on in chapter 8, and a passage in chapter 8, or is it in chapter 9? Chapter 9, verses 4, well, actually starting with the beginning of chapter 9. Are you there? Let's do it. This is, of course, Moses writing once again to the people getting ready to move into the promised land and all that, and he says, you're ready to cross the Jordan and go and dispossess nations greater and stronger than you, with large cities, walls up to the sky. People are strong and tall. Anakites. You know about them and have heard it said, who can stand up against the Anakites? But be assured today that the Lord your God is the one who goes across ahead of you like a devouring fire. He will destroy them. He will subdue them before you, and you will drive them out and annihilate them quickly as the Lord has promised you. After the Lord your God has driven them out before you, do not say to yourself, take possession of this. Did you see I won? That is on account of the wickedness of the nations that the Lord is going to drive them out before you, not because of your righteousness, integrity, that you are going to take possession of the land, but on account of the wickedness of these nations. The Lord your God will drive out before you to accomplish what he swore to your fathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Understand then that it is not because of your righteousness that the Lord your God is giving you the good land to possess. You are a stiff-necked people. Wow. Woo! Back to chapter 7. Okay, he says, and then we'll go to Deuteronomy 28 too, because I've got to be sure to tell you about that one. But in it says, you are a people holy to the Lord your God. Now he's talking here about the Israelites themselves, and you are considered to be a people holy to the Lord. I mean, God chose you. The Lord your God has chosen you out of all the peoples on the face of the earth to be his people, his treasured possession. All that sounds really good, doesn't it? Very positive there. Okay, the Lord did not set his affection on you and choose you because you were more numerous than other peoples, for you were the fewest of all peoples. There were not that many of you people here. But it was because the Lord loved you and kept the covenant. He swore to your fathers that he brought you out with a mighty hand and redeemed you from the land of slavery. You came out of Egypt, in other words, the power of the Pharaoh king of Egypt. Okay, so looking at your page, Moses reminds the people that you are holy. You're holy because you've been separated out. I have selected you. You are chosen. Okay, chosen to God, holy to God. His what kind of possession did it say? Treasured. You're a treasure. Out of all the peoples of the earth, they were chosen. They were not numerous. There wasn't a ton of them. Actually, they were least, the smallest in number. Because God did what? He set his affections. In other words, he really established them. They're standing firm. They are. They're set. This is my thing for you. He set his affections on them. He was faithful to the oath, that vow, that he swore this to their forefathers. And with omnipotence, God redeemed. Is the word we really Pharaoh. You've been rescued. Debt was paid, and I got you out of there, and you're free. So, as a people, because they're holy, they are considered to be, what is our phrase?
Set apart.
Set apart. They are set and given the responsibility of reflecting God, showing in their lives to the other nations. God's faithfulness gives them reason to separate themselves. That's a good reason why you do it, from other gods and ungodly nations. So what can they testify to? They can testify to God's love. Is because how did all this happen? God is so powerful. He's omnipotent. So his power and yes, his faithfulness would be the other part. His faithfulness is part of it. But God used his power to do that. It's only through God's power that they got out of there that way with Moses and Aaron and all the rest of them. And then they wandered around. In fact, they made the point this morning in one of the sermons, the fact that wherever they went and established had taken them, of course, 40 years before they ever got within.
11
but it was
days.
only supposed to take about 11 days. Yes. We're pretty slow to learn, aren't we? Okay.
Evidently.
Okay, picking up with verse 9. Know therefore that the Lord your God, he is the what God? Faithful God. He's the faithful God, keeping his covenant of love to 1,000 generations of those who love him and keep his commands. But those who hate him, he will repay to their face by destruction. He will not be slow to repay to their face those who hate him. Therefore, take care to follow the commands, decrees, and laws I give you today. Okay. All right, so looking at your paper, Moses continues to stress the truth of God actually is. That they know God is God of love, justice, faithfulness, and so forth. The word choice implies that there is a depth to their knowledge. They know a lot. They really understand who this God is, and that they have to have this depth. God's faithfulness is based on the covenant of love. Love that he has, setting his love that extends to thousands. It's all the way down to us, okay? Thousands of generations who love him and
Obey.
keep his commands.
Keep his.
The shame, which is in Deuteronomy 6, which is right before read, it actually asks them to hear, oh Lord. They open your ears and listen. Okay, oh, the mine were just better than them. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. I should stress that, is one. You are to blame Lord your
Love.
your God. And all your strength. That passage there in that 4 through 9, you notice that he keeps on going and explaining how they can be doing some of that by writing it on their foreheads and putting their garments and things, like we pictures and things, and we do things what the commands are. So we want to be always putting our focus in that right direction. So these instructions to pass on standards for living that bring blessing. However, those who reject or repudiate, in other words, deny, say, I don't want anything to do with that covenant relationship, and they actually have, what word are we going to put there? That not hate, not love. I'm sorry, hate. Hate. We want the word hate there. They actually hate all of them. A lot of people they do not like because they're not liking what they hear, because it's telling them some truth that they don't want to hear. And we probably guilty sometimes about reading something and realize, I really wish that weren't in here. That doesn't need to be in here. Okay, I need to be aware of the truth. So they're going to be facing the wrath of God if you reject what he says. God will repay, and it will not be, what did it say? Not be
Slow.
slow. We may think it's slow, but he says it's not. And it's going to come with destruction. Therefore, take care to follow what I give you today. Okay. And that's why we're going to go to 38 of Deuteronomy. I'm familiar with chapter 38 of Deuteronomy because it's a real important chapter.
There's not.
Everybody
There's not a
loves
38.
the first few verses of chapter 38.
What if there isn't a 38?
Yeah.
Pardon?
There's
There,
no 38.
do you meant do
Oh,
you?
I'm sorry, 28. I'm sorry. I'm looking at 28 and saying 8. I have no idea what my mind is doing. The Lord does not, Satan does not want you to find it. Okay. Chapter 28. I'm still trying to say the wrong thing. Putting the wrong words in my mouth. So Deuteronomy 28, first 15 verses are the blessings if you're following those commandments. Look at verses, the first word in 28. It's if you fully obey the Lord your God and follow all his commands that I give you today. I just read about that in chapter 7, right? Mm-hmm. He says here, and here they are. And all the way down through verse 15 are all the things that you can expect in the way of blessing. And they're wonderful things. But if you look at starting with verse 16 in chapter 28, things change. Starting with verse 16, it says, or 15, I'm sorry, if you do not obey. So it's really just the first word. And if you do not obey the Lord your God and do not follow, then all these curses, and the curses go from 15 through 68.
Oh my
Ouch.
word! Good Lord Almighty!
And one that was preached or mentioned in the preaching this morning, there were several that were pulled out of those that were the curses. And look, I said we're at a crossroads, and we're fixing to face curses rather than blessings. He us and brought our attention to verse. What did I want to be sure that I got to? Where did I write it down? I guess I didn't write it down, Martha. That was not a good thing. Okay. Let me see. It is. Okay, it's 43. I see it now. Okay, what are we concerned about, or at least should be, I guess? The alien who lives among you. We're talking about the immigration, these people who come because we have not,
Open
anyway,
border.
the alien who lives among you will rise above you higher and higher. Is that happening
It's happening.
Yep.
It's
right
happening.
now? But you will sink lower and lower. He will lend to you. Are we taking money from these other countries and nations? He's going to give us money, and we end up owing more. We have a great debt, a tremendous debt. He will lend to you, but you will not lend to him. He will be the head, and you will be the tail.
Mm.
And as the preacher said today, he says this is getting truer by the day. Right here in this list of curses for not following the commands that are given that we talked about. We can finish with 7 now, go back to 7 and finish the last part that you're supposed to have for this. And okay, starting back with 12 then through 16. Says, if you pay attention to these laws and are careful to follow them, then the Lord your God will keep his covenant of love with you as he swore to your forefathers. He will love you and bless you and increase your numbers. He will bless the fruit of your womb, I tell you, I try to do things too fast.
The fruit of the
okay,
loom.
balloon. Okay. At least I know y'all are listening. Real good sign there. Okay. He will bless the fruit of your womb, the crops of your land. So it's not going to be just there's going to have plenty of babies around. You're going to have lots of corn and beans and so forth. Your grain, your new wine and oil, the calves of your herds and the lambs of your flocks. So there's going to be lots of baby animals as well in the land that he swore to your forefathers to give you. And they're going to need it. Remember, they're slow in number and they're small in number, and they've got to have plenty of people to be able to go in and cover this property. You will be blessed more than any other people. None of your men or women will be childless, nor any of your livestock without young. Everything is going to be productive. The Lord will keep you free from every disease. There's another blessing. You're not going to be sick. You're not going to have problems there. You are going to be healthy. You will be blessed. He will not inflict on you the horrible diseases you knew in Egypt. So this is a promise strictly to these people at this time right here. Okay? But he will inflict them on all who hate you. You must destroy all the peoples that the Lord your God gives over to you. Did they?
No.
No, they did not. But he goes on to say, do not look on them with pity, and do not serve their gods, for that will be a snare to you. Okay, we can finish then. Verse 12 begins with that very big word, if. It's a conditional word. It's a condition. You obey me, you follow my command, then this. You disobey me, then this. So it begins with the word if, indicating that what follows is conditioned on how the Israelites respond to the commands, the decrees, and the laws. What will result in an outpouring of covenantal love?
Obedience.
Obedience. Obedience. You gotta do it. Obedience will result in the outpouring of covenantal love. In land where Israelites are outnumbered, a need is created for their numbers to increase. So God's blessings and growth in all areas possible actually will happen. He promised them that they will have children and grain and oil and cattle and lambs and so forth. No childless men or women or livestock without young. The blessing includes
Health.
The H there is for health. They will have health, he says, for your bodies. He says, I'm going to protect you there. Stating that the diseases that they knew in Egypt would not inflict them. God would inflict them, though, on those who hate the Israelites. They will find this affliction. You read on over, and I skipped some of those in there, like in between all the things that would be happening, about the hornets that would come, and there were all kinds of things that God sent in there to try to get people out of the way so that these nations can be taken over. So they're not going to have that happen to them, though, but it will be happening to these other people. Okay, military. There is a military blessing too. The Lord would actually peoples over to the Israelites. He says that group, and this has to be a process that, they can't get there and destroy all these people all at one time. Of time before all these things could be worked out. We're supposed to take it that way. To the Israelites with the command to destroy what? All of it. The warning is to not pity. Not pity the people or serve their gods. Pity the people or a snare. Something that lures a person away from his real purpose and then destroys them. a lot on all kinds of fronts right now. All these different politicians and places who say we need to get, administration out that is the Bible or biblical principles. And what's it going to do to us if we do? We will be destroyed by
They'll
it.
take us down.
It says if they actually